Welcome to the Bold Podcast. I'm Todd Birch, entrepreneur, mental fitness coach, and keynote speaker. I believe every person has a spark, but life, pressure, and doubt have a way of dimming it. Here's the good news. You can reignite it at any moment. That's what this podcast is all about. Every conversation is rooted in my SPARK framework: curiosity, mindset, action, growth, and impact. And features real stories from leaders who've learned that transformation doesn't come from giant leaps, but from consistent micro shifts. Because growth and leadership isn't about having it all figured out. They're about showing up, embracing the lessons, and letting progress build over time. When you fuel your spark, everything changes. Let's ignite it together. Before we dive in, let's set the stage for why this conversation matters right now. According to Gallup, 70% of employees are disengaged at work, and nearly half report feeling burned out. SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, tells us burnout, stress, and poor leadership remain among the top reasons people leave their jobs. At the same time, employees are asking for something deeper: meaningful work, flexibility, well-being, and leaders who actually see them as humans, not headcount. And that's why today's conversation is so important. Joining me is David Noe, a trusted voice in HR, who believes that when people feel seen, supported, and empowered, organizations win. And isn't that what we all want, David? We're going to explore David's perspective on 2026 HR trends and what leaders need to do now to create cultures where people want to show up, stay, and grow. I'm so excited. David, welcome to the Bolt Podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much, Todd, for having me. This is so exciting.
Yes, talking about HR. That's exciting, right? No, actually, folks,
It always is.
we're not, yes, it's tied to the hip. We're talking about HR, but we're really talking about the state of the workplace and how that is working for us right now and what we need to do, what we need to think about. So, David, there were three. I know you did a blog post about 2026 HR trends, and you had several on there, about a half dozen. There's three that I think I really want to focus on for our audience, which is all about personal growth and leadership, the employee experience taking center stage, hybrid and flexible work as a norm, and employee well-being and mental health. Those three hit hard for me. So, David, when you look at the workplace today, what feels most broken and what gives you some hope?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think, and this is going to be different for everybody working right now, but just think about where you are in your career, what company you work for, and do you have trust and clarity from your leadership and your organization? Employees don't know what matters anymore sometimes in an organization, and all they look at is the dollars, how to acquire new businesses, how to be acquired themselves. And then that really breaks down the leadership that they were familiar with. So what gives me hope is what leaders are really finally talking about and being open about with burnout, purpose, the human connection, right? We can't go a day without talking about technology and AI and how that's going to replace so much in our world. But to be honest, as far as I know, there aren't many companies out there that truly have a business where you don't have people and you don't have humans behind the company.
Right. And that's especially in HR. Yes.
Especially in HR.
Some things will be replaced in terms of activities and duties. And I don't want this to be a whole AI thing, which it seems like that's, as you mentioned, that's always where the conversation goes, because it is a huge disruptor right now, but there are lots of other disruptions that are happening as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Why is it still so hard for organizations to balance caring for people while still driving performance? I feel like this is still a common issue. Why do you think that's so hard?
Yeah, and we talked about this on Monday with my podcast and the guest, and it was really about why people start a business and why they take over a family business. It's their passion to be an impactful member of the community or trying to impact others in their lives. And I think leaders don't think about that as much as they should. They look at how much it costs to hire people, how much it costs to offer them health insurance, the headaches that go alongside hiring people that have a personal life and bringing that to the company every day. You can't just turn it off. We're not robots. So I think if leaders can really look back and sit down and think about how they focus on the employee experience, making it personalized, meeting people where they are, having that human connection, giving managers the tools and resources and opportunity to grow as a manager and a leader, you're really going to see success this year. And I think that is truly the most important thing in a business. And it's not about how to integrate AI. It's how are you treating your employees and how do they feel as being a part of your team?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as a small business owner, I absolutely get it. And, I'll share, David, I'm going into my 17th year in business with my marketing business, Evolve Marketing. And I had that passion. I had that purpose. I had that why, when I first started the company. There was a problem and I wanted to solve it. There was a gap in the industry and I solved it. And, you have that first hire and then you have your next few and next thing you know, you're up 10, 15 people. And it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, man. And I'll be honest, I did. I lost touch with that. And I've always had a deep caring for people, but I did get caught up and I lost touch and I started to see people leaving and I started to see the negative reviews on Glassdoor. And it hurt my business to a point where, I had to really look myself in the mirror and say, what's going on here? I need to make some change. I need to look internally. Right. So I say that in one, hey, I'm putting myself out there and I made mistakes. I failed, but I also hit a fork in the road and made a decision. I made a decision to get curious, to embrace a growth mindset and really engage with the employees and create this, the best that I could employee experience. So my question, I guess, is, and we do have several small business owners who listen to the show. Mm-hmm. How can you avoid that happening, right? Because we go so fast. There's so many things happening, especially as a small business owner. You're wearing multiple hats and it's possible you can get caught up. So what do we do, David?
Yeah, I think the first question leaders should really ask to understand the people and the culture is what makes your job harder than it needs to be. And if people understand what that answer is from everybody in the organization, they can figure out the right strategy to be successful as a business, meet their goals, and really figure out what their mindset's going to be as an organization. And people play such a big part in that. So I see a lot of small businesses really, if the owner has a hard time letting go of things, and everybody wants control. The one thing everybody wants in their life is control. When you're in a plane, you don't have control of who's flying the plane. When you're in an Uber, you don't really have much control about that person and everybody around you. So your surroundings and everything you have control of, a lot of times business owners don't like to take what they have control of and move it to someone else, especially if they don't have full trust in them. So you have to be mindful of the people putting in place in your organization in a role where you're going to let them make decisions, you're going to let them fail, you're going to let them grow as an organization or as an individual in that organization. So I see that so important. And you can't just give everybody a ping pong table and bonuses and free lunches and think they're going to trust you and have a clear understanding of what it feels like to be valued in the organization. So right now, especially, people have so many options out there. They can work part-time jobs, have side gigs, earn money in ways that we never saw possible, right? With social media platforms and way people make money. Even my teenager, he's he's selling stuff and making money, and he's doing a side job pressure washing decks, and he's 16. And there's other people out there like that. So people have a voice. They have more options now, and they're less tolerable of poor leadership. And let's face it, a lot of people don't like to leave a business. They like to leave because of the managers.
Yeah, I've heard that time and time again, and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think about, like, how do you stop getting to that point? So I guess it really is getting to know your employees, spending that time. I think it all really comes back to time, right? And we need to have those one-on-ones. You really need to understand your people, who they are, and what's important to them. And I think one of the things that I did early that was a mistake was treating everybody as equal, right? And more focused on what I liked and what I wanted. So I was laughing, smiling when you were talking about, yep, I was a guy. I had the ping pong table. I had the foosball table. I had the cornhole boards. I had the free pizzas. We had the early, drinks after work, and we had all the things, and those were what I wanted, but not necessarily what the people wanted. They wanted if we're cutting out early, they want to go home, be with their family. They don't want to spend more time, with it. Nothing against the people. It's just, hey, that's just where they're at. So I love several things that you said, but the one thing that stood out to me was meeting people where they are. Absolutely. And that is about taking the time to get to know your people. There was I had a wonderful guy on the podcast last year, Sam Falletta, and he said, one of the things they used to do, and this was a pretty large size company, they would buy Kalahari passes. And one person came up to him after and said, "This is great. I love this. Kalahari is expensive.
Yeah.
But what I really need is a bed for my family." So that took him back. And next thing you know, they're not doing Kalahari anymore. They're doing Walmart gift cards. So you can use it for whatever you need. So, it's a simple story, but in great intentions all the way around. But what it comes down to is meeting people where they are, getting to know your people and what they need.
Yep. Yeah. And now we have multiple generations working together, right? More than we ever have, people working longer. So their motivations are all different. You hire somebody in their 20s, let's say they're not even married yet, they're starting a family, they're having kids, versus someone that's got kids in college. They're getting ready to be grandparents and they're still working, right? You can't expect everybody to have the same experience in your organization when you have all of those different kind of backgrounds and personalities and generations working together. So again, so important to know your people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also important, and I saw some numbers, I think it was on Gallup, in regards to how many people managers are responsible for. And the number was pretty high. I want to say it was in the 10 to 12 people in terms of, all the people that they surveyed.
Yeah.
And what I would say to that is that's too many. In my own experience, I think it's 4 to 5. And that's what we try to do in our business, is have that threshold, because once you get beyond that, you don't have the capacity to provide the time. And the time is what gets you that trust and that bridge, right? Where your people, you really know who your people are and what they need.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Really important.
Yeah. And I think it depends on the industry, right? If you have a bunch of office staff in a professional setting, or people working hybrid, working in the office half the week, you'll be able to have those one-on-one meetings and stagger them.
Mm-hmm.
You're working in a manufacturing or a construction, and you're trying to manage, let's say, 15 project managers that have 5 people working for each project manager. There's levels, right? So it really will be a little different, but I do agree with you. I mean, having the right balance of management of people is going to help you avoid the burnout that people feel in middle management. It's one of the hardest jobs in an organization.
It really is. And we see it. We see the numbers for disengagement are as high or higher in middle management. And what happens when the managers are disengaged? It trickles all the way down. So disengagement just becomes a normal thing. But I didn't want to go back to you talk about the workplace, hybrid, flexible work. I don't want to spend like the whole show on it because we can certainly go there. And this is going to be one of those topics that's highly debatable. But you say as a trend that hybrid and flexible work are the new norm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that in your experience.
Yeah, I think hybrid isn't going away. I think more companies are asking people to come back into the office.
Uh-huh.
And it's really a baseline expectation now. When I talk to people in the interview process, I give them a clear understanding of what it's like to work for us. We provide flexibility. You have a family event to attend. Your kids are in school at a function. Go do it. Like, don't miss out on those family situations and moments. We want you to do your job. So the hybrid flexible work schedule is more of a norm now. And how can leadership show empathy, the right communication, the right coaching approach, and really managing that way to show people that we trust you to do your job. If it can be done in a way where you're not, obviously, if you're in construction, you can't do that kind of job from your home. But let's face it, what we learned through COVID is a lot of companies can do their work from home. We work from home right now. We're expanding our office. Our break room is like doubling in size. Our office is doubling in size. So we don't even have any more space to add people. So we're busting out at the seams. So we're working from home right now because people are in there doing the renovations and everything. So, it gives people the chance to have that human connection, but also provide a flexible schedule where people feel like they can attend things that are really important to them as a person and having a family. And things happen. People have lives. Everybody has stuff going on, right? Mm-hmm. So I think where we see issues is when people are not feeling that they're being trustworthy, they're micromanaged, and they're getting away with sitting at home and watching Netflix all day and not getting their job done. So again, it's going to be all relative to what the business looks at and how they can find the right way for people to be the most productive.
Yeah. And again, meeting people where they are. I think this is going to be a difficult thing to navigate. We're seeing the bigger companies, Fortune 500 companies, are demanding the workforce to come back full time. So I've definitely, we've seen it in the news. I've seen it personally, just here locally in the Cleveland area. Very large companies forcing people to come back, and those people are leaving. Those people, they don't want that. They've been accustomed to having that work from home or hybrid, and now I'm being told I'm losing control. Right, back to your point.
Right,
that's difficult.
I think too the cities, right? The cities, I see it in Cincinnati area. When you have a city with a business that has hundreds of employees, tax dollars are being switched around, and how people are paying taxes from a work site perspective. So, mm-hmm. When a business, like you say, in your area that has hundreds of employees, they're not working in the office, that city is not getting tax money, right?
Right.
So in our world with payroll tech and looking at that, like businesses that don't have that, and now are being asked to go back in, like there's some pressure from the cities too. Be like, hey, if you want your business to be in our area, we expect you to have people in the office so that we're getting tax dollars too.
Yeah. And the areas, the restaurants, bars, restaurants are hurting as well. It's tough, man. It's a tough thing. It's definitely, here to stay. COVID opened our eyes. And I think, for the most part, in a good way. I've been very vocal about my stance on this, and I'm not a huge fan of the full-time work from home. Although my business, that's what I've done. We've created a policy called work your way. However, whatever works best for you. If you want to be full-time all the time at home, we have a beautiful office space. You can come in part of the time, so you have a hybrid, or you can come in the office every day. I really don't care as long as you get your job done. And David, I didn't want to lose my people. It took me a long time to get the right people on the bus. And I have an amazing team, and I know them, and I love them, and I would do anything for them. But that doesn't mean that I need to personally love it, right? But again, it's not about me. It's about the team and what's best for the business. And that's what's best. Now, I do really like the hybrid. I feel like it's a good balance. You know, you still get that. There's nothing like that in-person FaceTime. I'm telling you, I just Zoom or Teams all day long, every single day. It's just hard to have that connection and really stay true to the why and the purpose. And there's definitely tricks and tactics, but it's tough. It's tough to be a leader in this day and age. There are so many things that you have to take into account. And that's why I feel like the less people we're responsible for, we'll be able to have more time, because each person is so different. And we have, so many different ages and demographics and all hybrid and all these things that we're working with. Right. It's a challenge. So
yeah. When you talk about business owners wanting control and having a hard time letting go, when they don't see their team in the office, some might think that they just aren't working. And if they see them in the office, they feel like they're going to be working harder. Well, that may not be the case. They might come into the office. They just commuted for 45 minutes. We're having road rage on the highway, and they got to the office and were in a much different mental state than they would have been working from home for the last 45 minutes.
Right.
So, it's a give and take, right? Like I really look at that and I see it. I mean, I have seen it, but there are times where you have to have face-to-face conversations, especially in HR. I don't mind working from home. I would rather be in the office at least part of the day to meet people. People see me and they're like, hey, I got a question about this, or hey, I got a question about that. They're more likely to reach out to me in person than through a Teams chat. But obviously it's all about communicating to your team, and the best way to communicate to your team, a lot of people have been remote since they began their business. They're remote. You can work wherever, just get your job done, right? So people work all over the country for a business that is fully remote. So we see it all. And it just comes down to what you feel as a business will make you the most successful and the people in the business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot to learn. We're still navigating it, still testing and tweaking. But I think that the goal here is you just have to be open to it, right? And if you're just going to demand people to come back to the office and give them no control, you're gonna have some resistance and some pushback, and you might lose some really great people. So that's on you. If it's more important that you have every single person in the office, then I think you're going to have a challenge ahead.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. We'll be right back after a quick message. Hey, it's Todd again. Right now, leaders are facing unparalleled challenges with burnout, disengagement, and rising stress across our teams. And that's why mental fitness matters more than ever. Mental fitness is the ability to respond to pressure with clarity and confidence instead of stress, negativity, or self-doubt. It's about building that self-command, especially when it matters most. Through the Positive Intelligence Program, or PQ for short, I work with leaders and teams to reduce burnout, strengthen resilience, and create a culture where people feel supported, engaged, and capable of performing at their best. This neuroscience-backed program helps teams shift from reactive to resilient and turns change into a catalyst for growth and innovation. Look, I've been practicing PQ for years, and it fundamentally changed how I lead, work, and live. It's transformed my life. If you're curious whether PQ could support you or your team, I invite you to visit toddbirch.com to learn more about this transformational program. Now, back to the show. So let's talk a little bit about the employee experience. So you've identified the employee experience as the top HR trend for 2026. What's shifted in the workforce that made this a non-negotiable?
Yeah, a few things. I think I looked at a survey by Gartner, and it finds that 46% of employees are satisfied with their career development. So part of that is obviously the employee experience is so important in our current situation as a workforce, because if you are not helping the employees grow as an individual of the team, you're not going to keep people engaged. You're not going to keep people motivated. So, like I said before, people have more options. They have more voice opportunities to really find the right fit for themselves as a culture and where they want to work, what they want to do, what their purpose is in their role, right? So I go back to that whole thing about what makes your job harder than it needs to be, whether it's technology, whether it's, hey, I don't have the right training on this, or I don't have a certification. Support it. If you are not supporting your team to get certified in something that would value your business and that individual, whether it's HR, payroll, anything that provides a certification in your industry, lean into that more. Look at your state. See if you can get training grants through the state that you are in. I've done that with Kentucky. So when it goes back to the employee experience, when you hire people, you want to obviously set the stage when you're talking to them in the interview process. Like, what is it like to work at that business? What is it going to be like in 12 months? Am I going to like the job? Am I going to like the manager? So again, the employee experience, it really isn't a perk, right? It's the foundation of the business. And employees want meaningful work, flexibility, like we talked about, the growth, feel valued, right? How do you value your team? How do you show that you value them? How do you recognize them? Do you have an employee recognition program? So again, all that goes back to the employee experience. And for me in HR, for as long as I've done it, same with our clients and who we work with, it's all about the experience. You think about anything you go and do. You go buy a car, go to a restaurant. You're going to remember the experiences, whether they're good or bad, right? So I lean into that as much as we can as a business in my role, and how we can make it where we find the right people, we keep them, we provide support and flexibility for them to do the best job they can in our organization. So again, it's got to be center stage for you as a business this year.
Right. Yeah, when we talk about the employee experience, we're talking about everything from the recruitment, the onboarding, right? That's setting the stage for what their experience is going to be like with your company. I know because I didn't have a great process early on with recruiting and or onboarding. And that hurts. That stung. And, you just need to take the time to build those SOPs and really get that in place so that it's a well-oiled machine.
Yep.
The employee experience is super. Again, it goes back to time and just, meeting people where they are and getting to know them. And so let's focus. This seems like this is really important trend and topic. What are some tactics, David, that we can do? I know for my business, we leverage our HRIS software. We happen to use Bamboo, and they have a ENPS survey. So that's one way, right, to take the temperature on the team. Aside from having one-on-ones, we have one-on-ones with each employee, the managers do every week or biweekly. So that's really important to have, to have that constant communication. But also those ENPS surveys, I think, are important because we've learned a lot from those surveys, and we do them on a quarterly basis so that we're taking the temperature and we see trends. And I've seen trends, burnouts, not supported, and what do you love? Flexibility, working from home, the team, the work, those types of things. So what are some tactics that leaders or business owners can put in place just to make sure that it is a really good employee experience?
Yeah, I think every 2 or 3 years, you have to evaluate your technology and what you're using. And just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for another business down the street. So the technology and what you use in your organization is so critical because there's so many different tools out there when it comes to pulse surveys, like you said, getting a right understanding, trying to predict who's the next one to leave and equip the managers with a way to approach those people with the right questions. So we're not trying to replace technology with the human side of interacting. It's giving them the right tools, the right questions to dig in to that situation. So there's tools like that, and I've met them, and it's exciting that is coming out. Now, when you use that technology and you do surveys, right? That's great. Do them. But obviously it's going to give you just a small glimpse into that. And I've heard where people don't feel like they can be fully honest on those, right? So I think it depends on your workforce and how much they feel like their voice is going to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And you might get somebody on a bad day. Like I said, if somebody's commuting to the office, they drove for an hour and they're sitting down and they're asked to do a survey, how are they going to respond to that survey?
Mm-hmm.
And then they do it in a couple weeks or the next few months, it's going to be maybe different. So I think the right frequency of doing surveys is different. And the other thing is, if you're doing surveys, you got to look at that feedback and you've got to figure out how you can show that people are going to see a difference in how you approach the feedback and how you are going to communicate that. So perfect example, we have an employee recognition program, right? And what I heard was that people thought that the same people were winning every single month.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we went to our next quarterly town hall meeting, I kind of showed some of the feedback. And I said, here's the word cloud of what people think about our culture. And it was the top 25 words that were said in the survey. Really cool visual, right? And then I said, well, some of the feedback was concerning because people think that the same people win awards every month or every quarter, and that's not the case. Here's the list, and every single month somebody different won. So again, it's just reminding people and communicating to people what they see as a frustration, or if they're not clear on something, then it's like, okay, well, we're not communicating things the right way. So a lot can come out of those surveys, and that's just one thing. I think the other piece is having those one-on-ones, right? Finding the right frequency to do those and have the manager in that one-on-one meeting ask the right questions. Use that time and do not sit down and have your phone up like this and you're talking. Yeah, hold on, Todd. Let me finish this text. Like, do not do that in a one-on-one. You have to be fully engaged in those conversations. Have eye contact. Think that they understand you are giving them your full attention, because people are distracted all day, right? I'm distracted all day. Our phones ding all day. So like, put your phone down, put it in a basket, do it where they know that you are valuing their time and you are sitting down with them to hear what's going on. So approach those conversations that way. And those are just a few things. And then really middle management, right? Figure out what middle management really feels and understand, again, what will make their job easier, what will make them more confident as a manager. Not everybody is a good manager, let's face it. And when you have poor managers, you're just setting them up for failure. So having those pulse surveys is great. Getting feedback from managers, doing the one-on-ones, getting consistent feedback from people, and show that you want to make a difference and make changes that they feel will impact the overall culture of the company.
Yeah, I agree. David, what are a few key questions that managers can ask in those one-on-ones?
So you can do like a rating, like a 1 through 10. How motivated do you feel right now in your job? What excites you about your job? When you wake up on a Monday morning, when you think about your job, what excites you? And sometimes people just aren't in the right job. And sometimes people, they want more than their job, right? Obviously, they want to make more money. But it's like, if you're really numbers driven and you really want to be behind the numbers, but you're talking to customers all day, maybe they're not in the right seat.
Right.
So it can really help you understand like where they are in their journey as an employee. and show them that you are going to be an advocate for them, and hear their frustrations. What's the most frustrating part about your job? And I try to do that with new hires. Over the first 90 days, I try to sit down with them and kind of set the stage for the next 12 months. Like, hey, we're going to do performance reviews in 6 months, and you're going to get more feedback there. But that's not the only time you get feedback, right? As a manager. Mm-hmm. So really setting that stage, but it's like you're handing off that employee to the manager after that onboarding process. So at that point, HR really doesn't have a whole lot of say or involvement in employees in some situations. So again, asking them about motivation, asking them about engagement. What do they feel like they need to improve on? What's a small win for the week? What's a small win out of your job? And find out, where do they feel like they failed? Where do they feel like, because a lot of people go straight to the bad. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, Todd, your numbers, your error rate this week is horrible. We might have to put you on a PIP. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired. Like, if I'm going on a PIP, I'm going to get fired. So
yeah,
it's really challenging to feel like you're going to get 100% out of an employee every day.
Yeah, there's a great tip that one of my clients gave me, actually, when she said, when she goes into the one-on-ones, she uses the compliment sandwich technique. Start and end with a compliment. Simple, but it works.
Yeah.
Right? That's a great way to kind of lead into the conversation, to your point, not starting off with a negative, because our brains are negatively wired. We are negative biased people. It takes 3 positives to overcome 1 negative. So that's how we're already coming into it just negative. That's just who we are. So knowing how we're wired, then you can come in and you're still holding people accountable. It's just, and I think it does go back to something you said early in the conversation, is empathy. We need our leaders, our management, to have more empathy.
Yeah.
And, I think COVID really brought that to the forefront. And I think tied in with empathy is EQ, having that emotional intelligence, right? Really building that as leaders. And I think you will be able to spend more time with your employees. You will be able to have better engagement because you'll meet them where they are, because you're not assuming, right? Everybody's got something going on, has some challenges at home.
Yeah.
So just not giving them a pass, but just being open to hearing what they have to say.
Right.
I love that.
I think having the right strategy behind personality assessments and understanding a person, you have all kinds of different skills or surveys or disc profiles and
strengths finders.
Yeah, strengths finders. You can find a lot about a person and apply that to meetings, one-on-one meetings, right? If you have an extrovert, introvert, somebody that doesn't take criticism as well. Some people like to be blunt, honest, like, hey, Todd, you're not meeting the mark. We got to do better. And some people are like, hey, Todd, let's sit down and talk about a few things that we feel like need to be addressed. Like, the way you approach meetings with your team, it can't be all one size fits all. And I think managers just get in that like zone of like, I'm going to talk to Todd the same way I'm talking to Sally and Tom. Like, you can't do meetings like that as a manager. So if that's the way you're doing it now, maybe look at local consultants that offer some outside assistance on that, right? Mm-hmm. Find the right way to assess your team, apply that profile feedback into the organization. And there's all kinds of them out there. There's
a ton. Trying to find the right one.
Yeah. So you got to find the right one that you feel like and trust that will be impactful and worth the money, because it is an investment. People are like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on these things, right? I'm already spending enough on my employees. Well, what happens in 12 months when you don't have half of the rock stars on your team because they left? Right. So again, it comes down to the right technology, the right assessments, the right meetings, And I don't want people to have just meetings all day. That's not effective. I think people have meetings about meetings.
Yeah, less meetings, please. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't think there's a silver bullet, other than really just leading with empathy and giving your people the time and knowing that it's not a one size fits all. So, and that's just spending the time to get to know your employees and who they are and what makes them tick, and not having that one performance review at the end of the year where both of you are like, oh shit, we're not aligned. That's not good. Nobody wants that, right? You wouldn't want that in your marriage or any other relationship. Why would you want that at work? So,
yep.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Sticking with action a little bit, David, is there one like small intentional action that leaders can take like right now to improve the employee experience? Something small.
Yeah. I think just being consistent and meaningful with your approach to the team. And if you haven't had one-on-one meetings, it's being consistent. And I think people like consistency.
Yes.
People don't like change. And
yes, that's what I talk about. People don't like change.
Yeah, even just where they sit in the office might really ruffle their feathers. And so I think just being consistent and fair and just truly honest with your team. And I think too, as we go back to the manager having one-on-one meetings, I don't expect managers to be best friends with all their team. Some managers are very close to their team, like too close. And so there's a balance, right? Like if you're talking to your employees on a Friday night for 2 hours, and it might be an unhealthy situation. So you have to have boundaries. Mm-hmm. You have to know how to be professional and show empathy, but you have to figure out the right line and boundaries between an employee and a manager as well. So again, the consistency of how you approach your team and just being clear and honest with them and understand the why. Oh my gosh, like the why behind things. Sometimes people have a whole different idea on why something is the way it is. Mm-hmm. So the more you can explain the why, people may not agree with it, but if you explain why things are being done in the organization and what decisions are being made because of that, maybe it's because of survey results, right? That you hear from your employees like, hey, we're hearing the same common theme here. Mm-hmm. We need to make a change.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you can just really focus on as we're heading into, this year, and it's January. So there's a lot to really dive into and really just track and monitor, measure it, see how you can improve for the next 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Consistent communications equals clarity.
Yeah.
And when you have clarity, people can get on board, right? They'll always have that, what's in it for me. And when you can explain that and bring it down to a level that they can see the vision and how that ties in to their life, both personally and professionally, then I think they're willing to get on board and perhaps make some changes and be
Absolutely.
open to feedback. So,
yeah.
When employees say they want to feel seen, what does that look like in real life? I hear that all the time.
Oh man. I think it's giving them the environment and opportunity to voice their opinions, to feel heard, and provide the right recognition. And, again, that's a sensitive topic for people. Like some people don't want to be in the spotlight, right? Like some people don't want to be recognized in a client newsletter. They don't want their picture out there. Mm-hmm. And to you, it might be like, oh, why not? Like, why would you not want to be recognized? But that's just the way people are wired. And so when you can see how people are feeling heard in your business now, is there any room for improvement? Do you feel like people feel that they're being heard? So whether it's, they go to HR, they go to the manager, they go to the leadership team, it's all going to be different. But again, I think when you try to define in your organization, what does it mean to be heard as an employee? And if you can define that, that's really going to help kind of instill that into the culture and how people feel as part of the team, right? Not everyone wants to be in a situation where they feel like their voice doesn't matter. Their opinions don't matter.
Right.
You have the same ideas and the same kind of people, no one's ever going to disagree. Like, that's not a good thing. Everyone's like, oh, I want to hire the rock stars and I want to duplicate the rock stars. We just want a bunch of rock stars. Well, if you hire the same kind of people with the same kind of opinions and the same kind of personality, you're not going to have a diverse group of people on your team. It's going to be all the same kind of people.
Right.
So, right, like, it's just, you got to have a team. You got to have a very healthy team environment. But when it comes to feeling heard and showing empathy, feeling like you're being recognized, a simple thank you goes a long way. Whether it's in writing, or Todd, thanks for this, or Todd, I know you went above and beyond. Thanks for doing that.
Amen, brother. Amen. That is if there's one simple, like, you could do it today and it costs you nothing. Saying those two magical words. I did a whole episode on saying thank you, on gratitude, really. And it's funny, I look at our company's Teams chat littered with thank yous. I've always been a thank you guy, right? So it starts at the top and it trickles down, and the team, and it's authentic, right? They truly mean it. It's almost too many thank yous. But, I did some research because I was curious, like, what's the average amount of thank yous that people say on a daily basis? And in America, it's 6 times a day. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That is not even close to enough. Hell, I say thank you 6 times, in the first hour. But yeah, 2 simple words. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great way.
And it goes to the recruiting process as an applicant, right? If you're serious about a job that you want to get, you should be sending a thank you email. You should be sending a handwritten thank you to really stand out. When you're trying to connect to somebody on LinkedIn, hey, Todd, thanks for connecting. Would love to hear more about your background. Are you open to connecting on a Zoom call? Thanks for your time and consideration. So yeah, you should be saying thanks in a lot of different situations.
Yes. Yeah.
But telling your team thank you, it costs nothing.
Right. And sometimes it's nice to do it publicly too, for the right employees, right? To your point, some people don't like that, but some do. They like to see that in front of others and really showing, that appreciation and gratitude. So simple thing. If you take anything away from today, you can take that one simple, and I say, make it a challenge. How many times, partner up with a colleague. Let's have a little challenge. Who can say thank you the most in a real, authentic way? The opportunities are going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of applying it. So
yeah, we do a peer-to-peer recognition program. So every month, every day, every week, someone can go into our platform and thank somebody else for what they do, call out a core value, and I get all that data. So every month, we use that to pick the employee of the month. So if we have 16 people that got nominated and only one wins, the other people that got nominated, I send back to that person that got nominated, hey, Todd nominated you as employee of the month. Here's what they said. I send that to the manager and the employee, and I don't expect them to thank me, but a lot of times they're like, oh my gosh, that just made my day. Thanks for sending that,
I love that.
So it motivates people. It shows that without doing much, your peers can impact the other people on your team, and help them help them have a better day, a better week. Going into the weekend, when you hear, oh, thanks for all you did this week, it goes such a long way. Yeah.
And it has a ripple effect. It really does. No, I love it, David. We're coming to a close here, and we could talk all day about this. But I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Definitely there's some patterns, which is always what I look for, that have risen to the top. So looking ahead to this year, what will leaders regret not prioritizing today? I think I know the answer. So I just presented you with a softball.
And they got to be intentional with their people.
There it is. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Got to be intentional with their people. And we just gave you a ton of ways to do that. If you could leave leaders with one truth about engagement, burnout, and well-being, what would it be?
So we can't fix people and their problems with systems alone, right? So leadership behavior matters the most, and you've got to lean into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And what gives you the confidence that the future of work can be better than what many employees are experiencing today? What gives you hope, David?
I mean, I think it's a lot of what you and I do on a daily basis and talk to people and have podcast interviews and people hearing that content out there on a daily basis, right? On LinkedIn and everywhere else that we see it. And so obviously you can read books, as I have a lot of podcast guests that have written books on leadership and mentorship. So I mean, I think the opportunities and the tools are out there for people. They just got to find the right approach to their personal situation and listen to more podcasts, hear more perspectives, right? You and I have a very similar opinion on things. Other people might have a completely different perception on it. And so again, I think it's just finding the right way that you can learn as an individual, have the right people in your corner as part of your mentorship and opportunity. So if you don't have mentors right now, I had a whole podcast guest on what it's like to be having a boardroom of mentors in your corner as a person. Company has a board potentially, or a committee, or a chamber. Like there's board of advisors. So
Right.
every individual could have one too.
Yep. I totally agree. I call that getting off your island. We all need that. We all had a guidance counselor in high school. We all need somebody aside from our spouse, our partner, right? So yeah, so now we're hitting the lightning bolt round. David, these are quick one word answers. So I see you're going for the book. What's a great leadership or professional growth book that you would recommend?
Oh man, Pete Schramm.
Oh yeah,
Pathfinders.
Okay.
Great book.
Okay.
He was episode 50 with my podcast, Speakeasy HR. This one's amazing.
What else you got for us? He's going through the bookshelf, folks.
Of course.
Whoa, we're getting out Johnny B. Okay. Johnny B, there's your plug.
And then this one's Shiny Objects. This one is all about shiny tech in your life. And so again, there's 3 right there.
Okay. Awesome.
There you go.
All right. Who is a leader you admire and why?
A leader I admire and why?
Yeah.
So I've been around a lot of business owners and a lot of managers. And I mean, honestly, my situation right now, I have several people I look to as just great leaders. My boss, I mean, I'm not saying this because she's my boss. Like, I absolutely think she's one of the best managers I've ever had. And it's so important to have the right manager and to have the right relationship with that person and help each other, right? So again, there's people I have thought were not good leaders, and one company I left because of how I was managed. So, again, it's so important to have the right leader in your situation at work. So,
yeah, people leave managers, not organizations.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna end here, David, with one of your favorite quotes. Could be your own quote or someone else's quote. Your mic drop moment.
I ask this on my podcast, and it's about your the best advice you've been given in your career. And a recent guest, Lisa Fain, came on. She's all about mentorship, and she said the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And I said, okay. So she explained it. She said, what's the main thing in your life? Why do you work? What's your purpose? Joy. And if you can keep the main thing, you're going to not sway from that path. You're not going to be distracted by things that don't matter. We're distracted all day, right? Our attention spans are so short, and they get shorter. Mm-hmm. So just the main thing is to keep the main thing. So shout out to Lisa. And I'm going to use that. I think it's so great.
I love it. It keeps you very aligned. Awesome. Well, David, if somebody wants to learn more about you and what you do in your career, your company, or learn more about your podcast, tell us where they can go and find that. We'll also include links in the show notes.
Yeah. Obviously, LinkedIn, certainly go to LinkedIn and connect with me, or speakeasyhr.com. It's where the blog, past guests, all the episodes can be found. And what we do as a business and where I work is payroll partners. So we're a very service-driven service technology company for HR and payroll. So love to work with people. We hire people. We have people in our corner helping other businesses navigate through technology. So payrollpartners.net is where you can find us, and would love to just connect with people and hear about their situation in HR and their business situation. And if I can help them in any way, connect to people. I'm a big connector. I love to connect to people, and there might be ways I can help them. There might be ways they can help me. And I think it's full circle sometimes. You never know.
Right.
Never know where conversations can go.
No, that's absolutely true. And that reminds me of a tagline from the credit unions. This is all the whole credit union industry has a national tagline: people helping people. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been great. I've really enjoyed our conversation today, David, and look forward to continuing our conversation and my time on your blog, on your podcast this year. So
yeah,
thanks, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. This was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation, Todd.
Awesome. Thanks for spending time with us on the Bolt Podcast. If today's conversation sparked something for you, please share it with someone who could use it. That ripple is how we create impact and light the way for others. Remember, growth doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small, intentional shifts that build over time. Ignite your spark, fuel the fire, and light the way. We'll see you next time, my friends.